John Edwards for Griffins TV alongside head soccer coach Brian Haddock. And coach, uh, home games for your team here over the last couple of days and actually through the next week or so.
Yeah, we're in a nice stretch of home games back on the Hebe. And what was nice last week was we actually had 3 practice days in a row leading up to that game versus DeSmet. So we were kind of getting recovered too. So that was always nice.
You started getting some of your injured players back as well.
Yeah, we had a handful of injuries prior to the season, and they're slowly getting back for us. And we're able to contribute a little bit that DeSmet game, but that's going to continue to be a work in progress. Not just with those players, but just some other guys with some bumps and bruises and the typical wear and tear of playing so many games in a short period of time. So, yeah, just getting healthy, like you said, is going to be paramount here in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
You pick up a win last Thursday against DeSmet, and that starts off the homestand for you. And how key is it for you to pick up a win against an MCC rival as tough as DeSmet's been?
Yeah, the win was huge. On paper, the biggest win of the year. And really, it showed the boys, it motivated them for one, but number two, it showed them what they're capable of. And to have that kind of hallmark victory going forward is going to be that reference that we're going to use, going forward in the districts.
Tough match last night against Melville, a 2-1 loss, but still the effort was there and plenty of chances.
Yeah, and credit to Melville, contrary to what maybe people think, they're going to be one of the better opponents that we're going to see all year. A different type of opponent. They're very, very skillful, very good on the ball. A lot of great individual play for them. The best player on the field could have been their goalkeeper as well. He stonewalled us a few times, a 4-year player there. But yeah, our work ethic was phenomenal. Had chances even at the end to win the game. An unfortunate penalty kick on our end with about 30 minutes to go was the game changer in that one.
The homestand continues because you have game against Lafayette tomorrow, and then you get Lindbergh on Saturday. And then if you look into next week, you get Webster Groves and SLU High, all games here at home. And the schedule doesn't get much easier for you. And I think you and I talked about that earlier this season, about the fact that you probably, looking at it on paper, have one of the toughest schedules in the state.
Probably. And the way we coach that, instead of looking at an entire schedule, we try to break the games up in chunks of, like, say, 4 or 5. And in this group, we've got a whole bunch of very good suburban teams, with Melville all the way through, I guess it'd be Webster. And then we come back to SLU. But just taking, the next 3 games and trying to improve maybe in those chunk of games is what we're getting at. Because as we've seen, last night was a great example. St. Louis U High, undefeated, became the number 3 team ranked in America. And we wake up today and they just suffered their first loss to Chaminade. So, if you look too far ahead or look too much in the past, you kind of get in that rut of scoreboard watching. And we're just trying to improve in 3 and 4 game chunks. So, yeah, phenomenal schedule, but we're trying to, maybe manage it in 1 to 2 week segments, if that makes sense.
There hasn't been one of the MCC schools that you've played against this year. You played all of them already so far. There isn't one team that you haven't been able to compete with this season. You've been in every game all the way through, right up to the end, where you either picking up a tie, a win, or a loss even.
Yeah, and in those losses, and I'll even take it a step further, if you took every MCC game that's been played, gosh, I think all but 2 games have been decided by, under 2 goals. So CBC tournament, a couple ties, including ourselves. Then we beat DeSmet. We felt really good in our first half against Chaminade, end up losing that, at the end, 1-0. And then they come back to play St. Louis U High and beat them 1-0 at SLU High, a team that we're going to see next Thursday at our place. So, I think it's just the high school game. It's kids, and what you see is what you get depending on the day of the week. We see that, and I think we're seeing that in our conference.
How does the schedule set you up for the end of the month, beginning of November for districts?
It sets itself up, and I know we've talked about this, but the opponents are great. But what we try to thrive on and learn from are the types of opponents. And what I like about our game last night through really next week on Webster, that's going to be a really good test, John, of who we see in our district. Now the seeds aren't out yet, but I think we have an idea of maybe who a potential first or second round game will be. And I think those opponents are going to be a lot like, Melville, Webster, Lindbergh, Lafayette, Oakville. And as I rattle off those teams, two of those teams are actually in our district and they could be opponents. So I guess we have the added incentive of playing a couple of our district teams to have that game under our belt, win, lose, or draw, to be able to go into districts with opponents just like that, and teams like Oakville and Lindbergh can only help.
Give me that one key area of the lineup right now that seems to be firing on all cylinders for you.
Well, I think overall, I love our fight and our defensive mentality first. The one thing I think we need to clean up, not really in a formation or personnel matter, but just the overall attacking end of our game. That final third pass. We think we're a really good team with set pieces, and we've proven that. And last night's a great indicator on how dangerous Vianney can be on corner kicks, long dead balls, even throw-ins. With a weapon like Caden Archer, who can throw a ball in 40 yards. But in our attacking final third, I think that's going to be the biggest thing for us to clean up. Just being more dangerous. Not that somebody's going to wake up and become a prolific goal scorer, but could that be a segment of our game that we just do a better job finishing off chances?
Do you feel that there's just not enough attack that when you get into that final third of the field, or is it just some minor tweaking of maybe shooting a gap or something along those lines?
Yeah, I think it's a confidence sort of a thing. I think it's, if we can get a guy going here or two with a, maybe it's a cheap goal, maybe it's a deflection goal, maybe it's an unsung hero sort of a kid who gets a goal or two that lights a little bit fire under some of our other guys. I think that's what it is. We're not possessing the ball as well as we should in the final third. And it's, you don't think of it that way because you think of the final third as being, maybe the spot where you just shoot and score aimlessly. But I feel like we're losing the ball there in critical areas where we could actually take an extra touch, make an extra pass to put somebody in a better position, to finish. So easier said than done, but we're going to keep working at it at practice.
I've noticed, not just with your team, but several teams that I've seen throughout the area over the past month or so, where there's an open opportunity at the 18, and instead of maybe taking that shot at the 18, they decide that they want to dribble an extra 3 yards and let a defender catch back up to them. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, we've seen that too. We see it with our team. We see it in our opponents. And I think I don't know if I have an answer to that. I do see a trend at the youth level. Not that that's part of this conversation, but as a guy with kids, growing up into the youth system as we speak, there is, an emphasis on, pass first, keeping the ball. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes if you take that too far, you lose sight on the point of the game, and that's to win. And that's to kick the ball over the end line and not just dribble it. But I think sometimes that sort of philosophy gets so ingrained in our kids that, they're only going to be a byproduct of what they do over and over, and creatures of habit. And if that habit sometimes is to just keep the ball and not put, the nail in the coffin, then that's kind of what you see. So, I don't think you're, crazy in saying that, because I do see it. But again, it's kind of in that goal scoring, finishing philosophy that we're trying to get at here at practice.
One thing we haven't talked about this year is some of the levels below us, the sophomore team and the two freshman teams. Give us a little bit of an update on those other teams.
Yeah, all teams are playing successful soccer. They're competing in every game. And that's really all we could ask. Our coaches do a really good job at those levels to the best of their ability of getting all the guys in, which is a big part of our lower levels. We use our B team as kind of that bridge, as I say it, between freshman soccer and varsity soccer, where sometimes roles are formed. But we like the depth of our program. I always have over the last 4 or 5 years. Not just in each class, but to be able to throw a bone to 3 or 4 freshmen, to bump them up a level and to watch them do really, really well in their own ways has been really neat. You know, I don't know what the future is going to hold in some of these kids, but you know, Coach Weber, Coach Engel does great jobs with our B team as that bridge or the gap. You know, Coach Meyer, Coach Scanlon with our freshman Eagle team, and then Coach Ship and Coach Burley with our Lion team. They've all been doing really, really well. We're still trying to get our freshmen a few more games before their season ends. But yeah, we're really happy with our 2 freshman teams and our B team.
Talk about the success of the B team this year. They've looked pretty unbeatable at points and times this year.
Yeah, and they're kind of flying under the radar in the sense that, you know, their record's really good, but there's not that guy on the team that's doing it all. And that's how we like it. I think what they're doing with 3 or 4 of their attackers is kind of what we want our program to be, you know, to have at some point on our varsity a number of different guys that can chip in and maybe not that one focal point. And that's how we're going to have to be successful this year with our varsity. So to see that happening on our B team with different guys in different positions is only going to bode well for the future.
We today we're in the middle of Spirit Week here at Vianney. I'm sitting here in a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. You're sitting there in a vintage Cardinals jersey, which is kind of odd for the both of us. Talk about what's coming up over the next couple of weeks. We have homecoming coming up, and how important that is for some of the student athletes who are seniors, and with COVID especially, you know, they get to have that week where they get to have, you know, some of that school spirit come back.
Yeah, what a great week here around Vianney. And it goes beyond our sports, you know, to be able to see our kids in the hallways, you know, dressing down, black and gold day today. Today, like you said, I've got my vintage Willie McGee number 51 jersey. You know, to see all this unfold throughout the week and culminate with a soccer game on Saturday. Friday night football, homecoming with our alumni coming back is really, really neat. And, you know, we're kind of using that as our motivation this week to play spirited soccer. And it's just awesome for the school. We're going to have a pep rally on Friday. I forgot to mention that. And I don't think I've seen one of those in close to 2 years. So it's a great week to be a Griffin, that's for sure. We've got shadows on campus. A lot of 8th graders coming through here. What a great week to see our school. And I know our admissions office is doing a great job with showing off some of our facilities with the alumni coming back.
I almost feel as if I'm burying the lead, but I didn't, but I wanted to save it for last anyway. Last week, it was announced that Vianney would be enshrined in the Missouri State Hall of Fame. You being a part of that as a head coach, talk about that a little bit and how much it means to you as a head coach for not the success of a team or state championship teams, but the entire program that started all the way back in 1968.
Yeah, you know, for guys, I'm glad you brought this up, John. So thank you. But for guys that know me, I'm not really into individual awards. I think especially in a sport like soccer that's so team oriented, it's tough to honor individuals. And what I love about this award is that it celebrates our program. And while a lot had to do with some of those state title teams, you know, we also honor the 68 team and the 2021 team and every team in between, every coach, every player, every alum, the parents of our programs over those years. You can't, forget about them. And it honors every player and coach that represented Vianney in soccer. And this one means a lot, and to be a small piece of it, it's awesome. And we're not honoring a team, we're not honoring the 91 team, the 88 team, the 78 team. We're honoring a program, and I can't think of a better award a sports program or a school could get. And whoever nominated us, it's speaks volumes.
For you as the head coach, before you got to Vianney, you knew the storied history of the program. And what does it mean to you as the head coach now moving forward?
It's humbling, and we were talking about this yesterday. I knew Vianney soccer as an opposing player as well. And I remember vividly being on those fields where, you'd have a time, the ball would go out of bounds, and Coach Villa would sub 10 players on the field who were just as good, if not better, than the 10 that are coming out. And I remember also thinking, if we could have got to that third line, I mean, who in soccer thinks about 3 lines in soccer? But he had teams that went 3 groups deep. I mean, we're talking 35, 36 players, where lines 2 and 3 were arguably as good as line number 1. And if you got to number 3, I think you knew you had a shot. But it was remarkable to watch the names of the guys jog onto the field who were friends of mine, but they were also all-state players who weren't even in that starting lineup. And it's just great looking back on those memories as an opposing player, and now leading this program to celebrate all of those guys is really, really special, and the coaches.
Well, Coach, I always appreciate a few minutes of your time, and it's always great to catch up and talk about the program, and wish you the best of luck the rest of this week as you take on Lafayette tomorrow night, 6:15 at Don Heeb Field. Saturday, you get Lindbergh at 11:45, and we'll catch up again next week.
Thanks, John, and hopefully we can get some fans out to the games. We appreciate all the support, sir.
Talk again soon.
Take care.